I'm John Kaiser at the Metals Investor Forum in Toronto, February 27, 2026. I am here with Matt Turner, CEO of Rockhaven Resources. Matt, welcome to Toronto.
Thanks, John.
So Matt, you've been with this company 15 years. In fact, you're responsible for actually getting this project into the company, which is, I guess, your prison sentence. But you know, I had the chart up there in my presentation showing what a long slog it is, and all of a sudden, the stock takes off in September or October, and you're up 5 times. And I think just getting started based on the numbers I have crunched. Now, the PEA that you did back in
2020.
Yes, and even when I cost escalated at $3,000 gold, it looks very, very much in the money. But there was a problem with that PEA in that it used an autoclave.
Yes.
And that's because the gold is refractory in arsenopyrite. And this apparently does not go over well with permitting. So can you describe this problem and what you are doing to deal with that?
Great question, John. So the gold is, there's about 50% of the gold that's in the arsenopyrite. The other part of the gold is in the lead concentrate, and then the remaining part goes with the zinc concentrate. So 50% of the gold is in the arsenopyrite concentrate at the time, because it was just made sense for a lot of reasons to really, it was the payability. We were looking at how do we maximize the payability of that refractory gold. So that's why we went the autoclave route. We did that for our 2016 PEA as well for the 2020 PEA. What changed was a number of things, I guess. One was gold price continued to go up. So then it allowed for us to look at offshore locations to send this stuff to. Secondly, it was just the permitting, like you said, was we looked at, can you permit an autoclave in the Yukon? And sure, it could be possible, but it'd be difficult. And then you factor in the power consumption that's needed to run an autoclave, even a small one, on a grid that can hardly take, the people that are on it right now. It just wouldn't work for an autoclave. So that's why we pivoted.
Now, the higher gold price also changes the attitude of the market towards, you're only going to produce 50, 60,000 ounces a year. Who cares? We want to see at least 100,000 ounces. But that $3,000 plus, 50, 60,000 ounces, that's a hell of a lot of revenue and resulting cash flow. So I've redone the numbers and given you the crappier payability and cut away a bit of the expense of CapEx, and it looks really good at $3,000 gold. And heaven forbid, plug in $5,000 gold. But I noticed that your resource mainly has been drilled down to only 300 meters, and in the high-grade Western BRX, you mentioned 520 meters at one point as the deepest hole. You also described it as an epithermal system, and epithermal systems, if one thinks of low sulfidation, it has a vertical limit as to where the high grade is, and then it changes. But it's not quite a low sulfidation epithermal system. There appears to be potential to go deeper. And I'd like you to explain, okay, what kind of epithermal system is it that would allow it grade to go deeper? And what can you do to, at least with a scout hole drilling program, show that, wow, this can be taken down a lot deeper than 400 or 500 meters?
Yeah, so first off, John, you're right, where most low sulfidation epithermals, they have more or less a vertical window. I think if you were to average them all, it'd be about 150 meter vertical window where you'd get the gold dumping out. We've got two functions, or two types of epithermal deposit within the Klaza zone. So your traditional low sulfidation, but you also have intermediate sulfidation epithermal. And so the two together is what we believe is why you're seeing such a large vertical extent. And the extent that, like you say, we haven't found the bottom to. that deepest hole, so that was 520 meters down dip from surface. So vertically, that would have been about, say, 440 meters
Oh, that was
below
down dip.
surface. So that
Okay.
was down dip. But that cut, that was it was a while ago, 1.3 meters of, there was 16 grams gold and 1,400 grams silver. So really nice, both on the gold and silver front, right? Bit narrow, just over a meter, but still that was actually, I think that's still to date our highest grade silver that we've hit in drilling on the property. So I don't know then, if that's telling us that we're getting into more of a silver dominant, but again, still lots of gold in the system too. So, yeah, to answer your kind of the broader question about, where we're at, there's a lot of deposits out there, especially now that are being looked at that start at 300 meters below surface, right? And the fact is that on average, we've stopped at 350 meters if you average out all the zones that we've drilled to. So your idea of a scout drill doing some deeper holes, yeah, that definitely makes some sense. And I think if you were to say step back, say, another, say 150 meters from where you were and you were to hit, well, then that just opens up so much blue sky for the project and for investors to see that you could scale up this project, which again, you're right in saying that it's, at that 50 to 60,000 ounce producer, it's back in 2020, it didn't really, get anyone too excited, but now with the metal prices, but still, if we can move this into like a pure 100,000 ounce a year producer, that'd be fantastic.
Now, you're waiting for a permit to do up to 10,000 ton bulk sample. You mentioned today in presentation that you're going to try and shoot just for 6,000 tons. Two questions here. Well, let's deal with the first one first. What is the purpose of doing this, the technical purpose for doing this bulk sample along the western BRX zone?
Yeah, that's a really good question. So the Western BRX zone is the highest grade zone on the property. I said it in the presentation where it really is the main driver for both the resource estimate and the economics. The reason to do the bulk sample is that at surface, and this is something that we recognized back in 2013 when we put in the initial trenches into the Western BRX, albeit there was only 6 of them at the time. You've got quite a bit higher grade than what you have. And don't get me wrong, the deposit itself is a nice grade, but at surface, you just have a higher grade. And we weren't really sure at the time why. When in last season, in 2025, we went in and stripped off most of the overburden. So we were able to map the zone, which was really important because part of the issue in the drilling that we did, the modelers had a bunch of on echelon faults in this area. But what we found after we took off the overburden, that the zone just meanders, not sharply, but it's nice and easy to follow along. But it's we're able to capture a lot of data on the modeling side. But the assays that came back were, I'd say, almost even better than what those initial assays were in 2013, and there's a reason for that. What we figured anyway was that it was frozen ground when we sampled it in 2013, so you almost had a smearing effect. So when we went in with the idea of prepping this area for bulk sampling for 10,000 tons, we had an average vein width of about 2.5 meters, wider than what we had in our drilling and the 85 holes that we tested on average. What we found was when we went down and with the rock all thawed out, we didn't get that smearing effect. So we actually had a tighter vein, but the grade actually went up significantly. So we haven't really discussed too much on the expected average grades of the bulk sample, but if we're around an ounce per ton, that's going to be fantastic.
Yeah. So the Western BRX, the oxidized material, which you think goes down maybe a couple of meters, you don't know exactly where it transitions to sulfides. That was going to be waste pile because you can't float and make a concentrate out of that. So just along that segment there, if you had to like strip that off and put it somewhere else, how many tons would this supergene enriched rock represent just for this the BRX segment?
Yeah, it's a very good question. The answer is still unknown, to tell you the truth. We'll know after this
Well,
year.
what if it's only down to 2 meters and it is like 2 meters wide?
Yeah, if
You've got,
it's only
500
down
meters?
Yeah, if it's only down to 2 meters, that's still fine because the sulfide below it is still carrying a lot of gold, right? So again, it would be not as much as the supergene enriched oxide, but the fact that it's in sulfide form, that means it's heavier, and you still might have the equivalent amount of ounces for
Okay,
the weight.
so how long is the strike of the West BRX?
460 meters.
So let's say 500 times 2 meter wide times 2, so that's 1,000 times 2, that's 2,000,
2,000
and the
specific gravity, say in the oxide, I'd say the average, and I've actually got samples in right now to Chemex I've got a suite of samples to get the SG on, but from what I could tell on site this summer, it was estimated around 2.5,
Okay,
2.6
so we're talking,
in the oxide. The sulfide, if we get into that, you're up over 3 for sure.
so we're talking about 6,000 tons.
Exactly.
So basically, the bulk sample would
Yeah.
pre-strip this garbage,
Mm-hmm.
ship
That
it off to
wouldn't
a
be-
smelter.
Exactly.
And what sort of payability would the smelter give you?
So we've got a couple proposals in right now. We haven't specifically chosen one, but what we're seeing is between say 80 to the low 90s payability on gold.
That high.
And that high, yeah.
And the silver?
Silver, low 80s to 90% payability.
Okay. So well, now I don't know how to average everything out or what it's going to be. You guys probably have an idea, but 43101 prevents you from
100%. Exactly.
looking at this. But I'm looking at this is like $3,000 to $5,000 rock with 80% payability. You get 6,000 tons of that times, say, 4,000. We're talking that you might get 20 million bucks back for a 6,000
Potentially be.
ton or $6 million, I think, cost for
Yep.
extracting this.
That's what we expect it to be,
And-
between $6 and $7 million.
And then you'd be able to better understand the controls of the system,
Exactly.
exactly where the sulfide begins, and have a non-dilutive financing.
Yep. Exactly, John.
So what is the chance that the Yukon permitting agencies will grant that permit?
Well, our current class 3 allows us to move 37,500 cubic meters of material as of right now. And I'd say a 10,000 ton bulk sample would move approximately 10 to 15% of that. And so the one thing that we didn't do when we applied for the permit is we didn't check a box that said bulk sample on it back in 2020, because again, at the metal prices that had been before it, we just didn't, expect it to run like this. So I'm confident that the regulators, and I've had lots of good discussions with them, and we've worked with First Nations and the local First Nation, their development corp too. We want to get them involved in this. So I think it's going to be great for the entire Yukon, but also for the company and shareholders.
So getting this permit and being able to extract this bulk sample and get it shipped and get this financing indirect, that would be a big deal if you published a news release like that.
Yeah, I think too, for the bigger picture too, is that it shows the development potential of Klaza, right? If you can actually do this, this bulk sample, small scale production scenario, it just, I think it just reinforces the fact that this, in the future will become a mine, and hopefully the near future, right?
And then, of course, there's chasing this system down dip, chasing a long strike, exploring. You've got a 15-kilometer or so land package in this area. So it sounds like the second life of Rockhaven
For sure.
is about to start. Well, I hope you get that permit. I've been talking with Matt Turner of Rockhaven Resources at the Metals Investor Forum in Toronto. Thank you, Matt.
Thanks, John.